Shan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I am honestly, I'm gassed to have you here. I really am. I feel like this, as well as being like a great opportunity to speak to you as a woman on your grind, I am just inspired that we've arrived at this point in our careers just because of how we met and how life has just happened for both of us in really different ways. So it's a beautiful thing, and I'm glad that we're both here. What is the grind? If someone says to you, yeah, the grind, I'm on my grind, what does that mean to you?
I think for me, I think my idea of grind might be like different to other people's idea of grind, because I'm like, there's like the like, oh, you know, don't sleep, stay up late, like work every day sort of like grind. And I also think there's like your personal grind. So like if your grind is like taking the best care of yourself that you possibly can, and that's your grind, like I think that's also like very respectable. I think grinding is like multifaceted, and it's like really about just trying to continue to do the best thing that you can for yourself. You know, respecting your hopes and dreams and like your health as well. And I think that's what grinding is to me.
Do you feel like the personal and the professional grind ever cross over, or do you think that they're always, that's me there, this is me there? Do you think it's always separate, or?
I think it definitely crosses over. I think like working in the creative industries, you know, like there's no time off. Like,
you almost feel bad sometimes for taking a day off. It's weird.
Like, and it can be, you know, sometimes like signing things, whatever, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, sending emails and stuff. You know, it's like it is like all around you. You don't kind of like have. Sometimes you don't have time to take a break, and I think that is kind of where your personal grind has to come into play as well. And like just be like, oh, you know, you need this time to yourself now, you know, when you rest here, you'll be able to work better later, and that sort of thing. So I think they do cross over, and sometimes they butt heads sometimes as well.
In a world where everyone is kind of always striving for perfection, we've got constant updates on social media, notifications, whether we want them or not, of people looking perfect, of their situations and their scenarios looking perfect. How would you, for yourself, and also maybe something that other people could learn from what you say as well, and a message for other people, how could we kind of break down that stigma and the idea of perfect?
Wow, that's a really powerful question. I think it's an individual and a community thing. Like, I think it's really important for like people to be honest with ourselves and each other. I think that a lot of the time we think about like how we present ourselves and stuff like that, and I think that is part of it, where like we need to try and be as honest as we can with other people, and I try and do that like on my social media, and I want to do like more of it where I can, but also you also have to kind of like, are you comfortable enough to be honest with yourself to then put it out to other people? So like for me, like I'm very aware that a lot of stuff on social media, you know, people think people just blow up, like people think that
the overnight success is really not
overnight. People think that you just like, you know, get great at things and everybody's really talented and whatever, and they just don't see like a lot of the failing. Like failing is not popular for whatever reason. Failing should be really popular, because we all do it all the time.
and in a way, so should quitting, because I think sometimes being able to step away and say, no, I'm done here, is empowering.
That is so important. Like knowing when like you've gone as far as you can, and like maybe now actually the better move is to just take a step away from it, is also like, it is really important as well.
So we met in 2015 on a program called Meet Potential, and you was an artist on the program, on the songwriting course, and since then you've had 840,000 plays on Spotify. So how does that happen, and what's been your creative process and your journey as an artist and as a songwriter over the last couple of years?
Wow, it's been really crazy. I think it's been, as we like just spoke about perfection stuff, actually this kind of comes into play with like how things got to where they are like musically. So after going on that course, I really tried to like be on the scene. I tried to like grind in like the sense of like what I thought it should have been. You know, like I was at every event, so I was doing like 8 gigs a week. Like, you know, literally like I went to college, did a gig in my lunch break, finished college, I did a gig in the evening.
That's a proper grind.
Like it was just a bit ridiculous. And then I got really ill. I nearly died actually, like a few years back. And that was a real world breaker to me, in terms of like my personal life. Like I kind of got to see how the people that I was spending time with weren't necessarily like there for me when I really needed it. And also,
were they the same people you were grinding for or with? Essentially,
exactly,
right?
Well,
Okay,
and on top of that, like the work that I was putting in wasn't given back to me.
Right.
So what ended up happening is that like it affected a lot of my other chronic illnesses, and it was really difficult. It was really difficult, even if I did want to go out and like carry on doing that sense of the grind, to like going and performing all the time and stuff like that. That was impossible. But like since I was young, I'd always had a passion for electronic music, and I was like not cool at all in school, never was. And basically from then I got some funding from Punch Records, was able to get some recording equipment, and messaged some of the people that I was like really interested in working with on electronic music, and kind of like went into that. And that's really interesting because, you know, technically my life flopped, you know, like I had a really difficult time, but if it hadn't been for that, I probably wouldn't have been able to get the recording equipment. I wouldn't have been able to like then reach out to those people. And the song that you're on about with the 40,000 streams is with a good friend of mine called Bert H, and that's a drum and bass track. And he's from Russia, like, and through being at home, being disabled and chronically ill, like I've met so many really lovely people on the internet. Thank goodness for the internet. And collaborated in ways that I don't think I would have. Like I probably would still be out there killing myself,
grinding in the next way.
And I think that was a wake-up call for me.
Okay, beautiful. So I just want to talk about chronic and invisible illnesses for a second. The arts industry doesn't tend to support people with invisible illnesses in the obvious way that they would offer someone who has a physical disability, or who has maybe even a mental health issue, as that's quite a forward thing within arts companies and it's on the tip of people's tongues. But somehow invisible illnesses and chronic illnesses don't fall into that category of we need to address this, we need support there. So how have you found the response from arts organisations, promoters, even other musicians or collaborators when you are presenting or not presenting anything to do with your chronic illness?
That's a really good question. I think it's been challenging. I think as I said about like the grind and stuff, people expect, some people and sometimes other artists will expect you to be like working all day every day, and if you're not, then you're not an artist, like you know, like what are you doing, sort of thing. When you've got a chronic health condition, you know, people ask me like what I do, and I'm like, well, you know, I sing and I manage my health, like, like that's my job description, because it is like an all day thing. And I think it's one thing like telling people like, you know, I have this problem, I need this, like, so me personally, I've got postural static tachycardia syndrome, which means that when I change posture, I can pass out, and I have to like disclaim people all the time, because, you know, if I passed out and people didn't know what was happening, I mean, I think if I passed out anyway, people would be quite stressed.
Yes, of course.
But I do try and tell people, like, it's one thing like telling people, but it's another thing like knowing actually what to say. Like by yourself kind of knowing like, oh, this is what I need for this and this is what I need for that, like I need to request this. And I think I find that's like the hardest thing, because like I think societally a lot of the time we're told that we need to just put up with things, like especially in like creative industries, like, you know, you're supposed to just
get what you could be grateful for,
yeah,
the
yeah,
little
yeah.
something you got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like that's just like not possible, feasible. Just
it's just not. Period.
One way down to burnout. Like
yeah.
So you have to like you have to kind of make sure that you're okay with that, like that. People aren't necessarily going to be okay with it. You know, you might get people thinking that you're being a diva or whatever, and stuff like that. And like, but you just have to look after your health. Like, there's no other option. Like, you have to do that for yourself. You have to be there for yourself. And try and figure out what needs you have and how they can be met. Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. I think there's something there about the conversation you're having with yourself, or any person in that situation would have with themselves. And definitely you need your own toolkit, you need your own, this is my to-do list. But I think there's something that the industry can do there about, even because part of the issue is that the illnesses are invisible or not always seen, and it's easy to hide something when you don't know how to say it, or you don't want to say it, or you don't want to seem too different to other people. So I'm just so inspired by you, honestly. I'm sitting here and I'm like trying to load my next question in my head. But I'm just really blown away at your tenacity and your strength, and just your drive to push past them, to not let your illness or illnesses stop you from what you're doing. What are some of the things that you say to yourself on a day where you're not feeling so good?
That's a good question. I think what I say to myself, being 100% honest, sometimes isn't good enough. Like, and I think for me, it's really important for me to call in strength from other people, because I think sometimes in the days where I feel, you know, really bad, I think like it can be hard for me to like give myself, you know, all that self-compassion and stuff. Like, I think I get part way there. I definitely need like the friends that I've got to be like, oh, you know, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me with this? It is really interesting, because a lot of the time the way that we talk to ourselves can be so different to a way that you would talk to a friend. And I know that like if my friend was struggling with something or whatever, I would talk to them with care and compassion. And I'm really grateful to have friends that will talk to me with care and compassion. But yeah, like sometimes it's hard, you know, especially when you've got when you're like physically or chronically ill. I've got mental health issues as well that I struggle with. And it can be difficult, like not to get down on yourself. Like, it can be really hard. I think little things that are useful for me, because yes, sometimes the little things count. Chamomile tea and honey. Like having a bath. Sometimes just the small things. And letting yourself like be able to do it tomorrow. Like, doesn't have to all happen at once. Some days you win a lot. Some days you just don't do as much, like, and that's cool. Like, you just have to go at your own pace as much as you can.
So Michelle Obama recently said in an interview, when they go low, we go high. And to me, what I understood from that was, when people do low blows, whether that's in politics, I'm sure she was having a few stabs at Trump, but whether that's in politics, whether that's in the industry, whether that's in friendship groups or something, how do we, and she's saying we go high, so we're taking that higher road, we're presenting ourselves as we wish to be, and not letting our environment dictate how we behave. Do you know what I mean? So have you ever been in a situation where you've had to take the high road?
There was a lot of times where like I wasn't liked growing up, and I think my personality is quite like I don't know, I'm quite like giving. I think it's really nice to be nice and whatever, and unfortunately for me, and sometimes I think like with children, like children can take advantage of those things. I think that like I had the strength to not like dip to that, like I didn't let it change how I was, like, and I'm as an adult as well, like you might find yourself in friendship groups where you're not like the people that you're spending time with, but like trusting that you will find people that will be like you, like where your personality like will resonate with them, like where you will get back what you give, rather than like changing your personality to like fit to whatever society says or whatever that friendship group says, whatever the school says. I think that's really important, and yeah, like finding the strength in yourself to do that, like not accepting subpar, like and not just for anybody else, but just for yourself. Like I think one of the most empowering things to do is to like sit there and be like, well, you know what, like I did my best on that day. Like,
and accepting it for what it is.
I did my best. Like you can't feel bad about that. Like you know, you gave all you could give in whatever situation that is, and that's the most and the best that you can do.
Sure. Do you think, because you touched on a few things that really struck my heart then, so I'm a big believer and a doer and a thinker and a breather. Everything of law of attraction is me, just all over. This whole experience, the fact that we're sitting, look at the relationship where it's come from, everything's serendipitous, all of that. So life in itself for me is a continual frequent vibration of good, positive, light energy. Do you feel that law of attraction or spirituality has played a part in your journey as an artist and as a creative person, or do you feel different?
These are really good questions. I think there's definitely something, like I do feel like what you give out, you get back. I don't think you get it straight away. Like I think it takes a hot minute. Yeah. Sometimes.
Send that with some big universe, you know what I mean? You got to send the vibration quite far. So.
It's come back. I'm very like moral, like I don't like to do things that I don't like to do. Like it will upset my soul and everybody will know about it. Or if they don't, I'll just like shut down or whatever. But yeah, like and I think it's like really important to be authentic. You can't get like what you want if you're not giving out like, this is what I like, this is what I need, you know. I do definitely think it works in that way. I think at this point in time is kind of where like I'm discovering more of like my spiritual side. I was brought up Christian, and I definitely I didn't get on with like all the like ideas of Christianity, and kind of like have branched out to kind of explore other ideas. But yeah, I think because a lot of my childhood was like quite traumatic, it took a while just to like be okay. Like, I just need to be here for now. Like I'm not thinking about anything else. And then when I can do that, then I'll think about like
anything else.
The other stuff. But I'm definitely like I definitely love when like people are really authentic to themselves.
The fastest place to get to where I want to be is by accepting where I am now. So what I want to know is, how can we honour the space that we're in now? How do we better serve ourselves right now, today, in the next few moments? Like, how do we respect now?
It's really interesting that how you phrase the first part as well is really interesting, and I totally agree with that statement. It's really easy to kind of think that you're further than you are, or you're further, you know, you're further back than you are, but you can't like estimate how far you need to go if you haven't got that first bit right. You need to know where you are. It's really true. And I think you know, even like Superman complex or Superwoman complex, like, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bash out like 16 things today, like but you haven't necessarily estimated like where you are right now, like what your working capacity
or maybe sometimes even how long each task is going to take.
Literally, yes.
Sometimes it takes 45 minutes to send a good email, because if you've got
I thought that was just me.
No sometimes I've got dyslexia, and sometimes I'm just very busy, so you know, I have to take time to sit down and really think about it, especially if you're doing business and it's a meaningful exchange that I want to give myself in that email, and you know, it takes time. So do you feel that as a female creative, and also obviously being in an industry where there are other female creatives, do you think there's a responsibility to teach and educate your sister and be your sister's keeper, or do you think that it's your business and you can knuckle down on what you're doing and kind of just get where you're going without consciously going back and supporting the community or supporting other women in the game?
I think I'm definitely like, you know, I climb the stairs, we all climb the stairs, like.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think it's really important for like people of all types of different minorities, you know, like especially in sectors like, you know, I really unfortunately like haven't worked with any female producers. Like
same.
Yeah.
I said this the other day, and I did a interview with Women in Control, and I was literally saying the same thing. I've never had a session with a female music producer, which is mad.
Yeah. And it's really sad, and like interestingly, I don't think I've worked with a few female photographers, but a lot of photographers are male as well. Like, and it is interesting, like when you look at it in a wider perspective, like how much or how little input like women might have in the creative sectors, and also not only that, but like how much of a difference it might make if we did have more input. Like how many more women might feel comfortable if they had a female photographer. What type of songs might come out if they had a female producer. And
so I set up Girl Grind UK to support, inspire and encourage women on their personal and professional grinds. And I really feel like the age group that we're focusing on is girls that are 12 up to young women that are age 30. And I feel like that's a really like crucial development stage where you're kind of growing and becoming a young woman, and then also you're a young woman kind of becoming a grown woman. And some of the experiences that you go through shape you and mold you. Is there one standout experience or something that you kind of felt like helped you to realise you're you? Like was there a point, a day, was there a job or a situation that just made you think, you know what, I am Elle Chante, this is me, this is my life, I am this person, do you know what I mean?
Yes, I think there has been. I think there's been a few. I think like definitely like when I was ill, that was like, wow, like this is happening to me. Like that I felt like I wasn't cared for, like in that situation by a lot of people I was spending time with. But then like just deciding that like it's horrible and it hurts, but it doesn't matter. Like in myself, like I don't want that to matter to me. In the way that like I treat other people afterwards. Like that the way that people might treat me, it's not a reflection of like who I am. Like it's about them. Like, and I have to and like will continue to treat people as like I want to and I see fit, you know, with kindness and compassion, empathy, like as much as possible. That's how I want to be treated, that's how I'm going to treat other people, even if like I'm taking like just the most rubbish like day to day. I still want to do that, and like nothing will make me feel better than treating people as I want to be treated. Like,
and doing you for you.
And you know, also asking people how they want to be treated as well, because sometimes how you want to be treated isn't how other people want to be treated. So
Beautiful, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and for sitting down and talking with me. I'm excited about the series, your future, the future in general. I think you're so amazing and inspiring. And yeah, man, big up yourself. And blessings.
Thank you.